Hey guys, and welcome to the video. Today we have a new updated tier lists, plural, to reflect what has come with Season 8, including Breach and the new Wulin heroes. This tier list is seen by the competitive community and many others as the official one, so to speak, as it is gathered using the best community methods available. We will be going through 3 lists, so this is 22 heroes times 3, meaning we have 66 placements. But I will not have this video drag on too long, and we can follow up on it at a later date for specific heroes or modes if needs be. It is also worth noting this list is for PC, and because of consoles issues regarding input delay on top of a 30 FPS platform, there is no competitive tier list for it. The Season 8 one has been created by Setmix, who is one of the best players For Honor has, and was passed the responsibility to create said list for the competitive For Honor Reddit and the community by Scorebrand, who has stopped playing the game. This list is also created with competitive play in mind and is no way reflective of casual play. It takes into account the opinions of many of the players in the game and is not solely Setmix alone, but the information he has gathered of in-game play. Additionally, it takes some time to create as competitive scrims and tournaments are observed and participated in, so as to garner evidence as to a hero's position to a pertinent game mode. That is why it is only released now and not earlier than this. With all this being said, I'll try to go through the tier list for 3 game modes as quickly as I reasonably can, with a focus on the new heroes as the largest point of interest, seeking comment from Setmix on their placements. There is the caveat that some descriptions are unfinished and will be included at a later date. If you wish to know why Raider is S tier and Breach, for example, you can check out the link in the pinned comment at a later date. Other heroes do have descriptions as to their particular position in a game mode, such as Duels, Brawls and Dominion. And with that being said, as enough context, let's get into it. And first off, we have Duels, as it is the mode with the least depth and is the most straightforward.
C tier, not viable. Aramusha in 22nd. Shigoki in 21st. Raider in 20th. Lawbringer in 19th. Zhangjun in 18th. Nobushi in 17th. Centurion in 16th. Valkyrie in 15th. Shaman in 14th. Peacekeeper in 13th. Nusha in 12th. Orochi in 11th. Kensei in 10th. Highlander in 9th. Tiandi in 8th. Shaolin in 7th. Gladiator in 6th. Shinobi in 5th. Warden in 4th. Warlord in 3rd. Conqueror in 2nd. Berserker in 1st.
Alright, Setmix, cheers for giving me your time and the viewers your time to explain some points in the tier list, particularly the Wulin, which is what I want to focus on. So first off, we have Duels, and I'll just get right to it. I'll ask you one question about each hero, so that the viewers here know what kind of format we're going to ask these in. We're going to do the same, guys, for Dominion and Breach. We're going to ask one question on each Wulin hero.
Okay.
So for Duels, Mr. Setmix, Zhangjun is the lowest placed. What's the reasoning for that?
So Zhangjun was the lowest placed character from all the 4 Wulin for a simple reason. Wulin has no way to effectively deal damage if your opponent decides to not press a single button. He has some decent defense due to iframes on his dash heavies, but every single mix-up he has is just avoidable by a single dodge, so he has no real way to actually deal damage to you. So basically the match comes down to whoever presses more buttons just loses. So, and since Zhangjun can't do anything on his own, he was placed the lowest.
Classic For Honor Duels problem then. No offense on the hero, so they just get whatever they get from how good their defense is, and they do nothing, they just stare at you.
Correct.
Alrighty then. Next we have Nusha. She's placed bottom of A tier. Is this because of her traps being easily reactable? Or is there other issues with the hero?
Yes, mostly it's because her new mechanic traps are easily reactable. You can't really place her higher than any characters that are above her, because every single character that is above her is better for whatever reason it might be, right? There is, for example, Orochi, who has easier access to his light chains. Nusha has a double light chain, so to speak. She has two 400 ms lights in a chain, whereas Orochi only has one. So her chain theoretically is better, but she has a way harder time to get into her chain, which basically renders her, compared to Orochi, way worse. So that's why you can't place her any higher.
Alrighty. Next we have Shaolin. He's above Tiandi, but lower placed than many anticipated. Some were thinking he might sneak into S tier. Myself included initially, but after a while I did think he might end up maybe top 8. What was the reasoning for his position? Why isn't he higher? Is it simply the heroes above him are just better?
Mostly yes, the heroes above him are better, but mostly because the heroes are above him have safer offense. Shaolin's offense is really good. He has really good mix-ups. The damage he deals is really good as well. But the thing is, every single thing he does requires a read. He can't react to his opponent, and neither can the opponent react to him. Similar to Warden, but Warden's a bit more safe due to the feints on his shoulder bash. So the lack of safe openers is why you can't place him higher, basically. Yeah.
Alright, that was well explained. Definitely made me understand it a lot more. And then we have Tiandi. This is quite a decent placement. Is this due to his offense or defense? Both? Has he any outstanding traits for duels?
Well, what's standing out about Tiandi is that he has a lot of tools. He has really good dash attacks. He has dash attacks with iframes. He has an unblockable that is similar to Glad's toe stab. He has access to 400 ms lights. So he generally has a lot of tools and ways to open up his opponent. But here again, nothing he does is really safe. So if you avoid his mix-ups, you usually get a pretty high punish, which means here again that you can't really place him higher. And on top of it, some of his tools, for example Palm Strike, is, because it's 600 ms, is reactable, and therefore it's not really a move you want to use too often.
Alright, so again, another safety issue. Just goes to show how important having a somewhat safe offense and duels really does for a hero, and how high up they are in 1v1. Gladiator being the classic example with his zone and some matchups not being able to punish them. Alright, cheers Setmix. We'll take a look at the minion next after the list.
C tier, not viable. 22nd, Aramusha. 21st, Centurion. 20th, Shigoki. 19th, Valkyrie. 18th, Gladiator. 17th, Warlord. 16th, Orochi. 15th, Peacekeeper. 14th, Nusha. 13th, Raider. 12th, Tiandi. 11th, Highlander. 10th, Shaolin. 9th, Yangjun. 8th, Berserker. 7th, Lawbringer. 6th, Conqueror. 5th, Shinobi. 4th, Warden. 3rd, Tensei. 2nd, Nobushi. 1st, Shaman.
Alright guys, now we're going to go into the Wulin in Dominion. So first off, Setmix, I'd like to ask you about Nusha. Some expected her to be higher due to her Caltrops feat, the strength of those, and the possible difficulty, increased difficulty, as opposed to 1v1 of her traps externally. What's led to her position of 14th?
So the thing is, the Caltrops are indeed pretty good. They're especially good for clearing minions. They clear entire waves. So it's definitely a decent feat, and she also has okay ganks with traps. The thing is that there are too many ways to avoid her traps, which makes her ganks rather mediocre. They're not really outstanding, but they're not bad either. The thing is, you
Mhm.
can avoid them by simply spamming attacks. You can even emote to get away from the traps.
Yeah, the classic.
So, exactly. So there's way too many ways to get out of it, and that's why her gank isn't really considered a good gank compared to other gankers.
Mhm.
Her movement speed is not the fastest in the game either, so it's not comparable to a PK or a Shinobi, for example. So her rotations, they're not bad. They're definitely better than most of the characters. But there's just characters like PK, Shinobi, like we just mentioned, that just
Mhm.
do a better job at rotating. So there's no point in using that either. Her team fights are decent here again, but they're not really good compared to other characters that are above her. So yeah, that's basically why she's placed the lowest of A.
Alrighty. Well, how about with Tianli? He has strong feats, strong all round, as we mentioned, because of his toolkit. Could you maybe explain why he has a stronger position in duels than he does in fours?
Well, in Force, there's just the character roster. There's more viable characters, and there's so many things that you have to take into consideration when you place the characters in your tier list. Because in 4v4, there are many factors. There's 1v1 situations. There's 1vx, xv1, team fights. There's 2v2s. There's so many things. Rotations too, feeds, and Tiandi has really good team fights. His ganks are rather mad. They are comparable to Gladiator's ganks with toe step because you can palm strike. The issue with it is that it feeds a lot of revenge,
Mhm.
which means it's once again more of an average gank. So it's not really a really good gank, but it's something you can do if you don't have a better solution, basically. His feats are good, but the issue here is that you can only use them once, maybe twice. In the best case, maybe 3 times per game.
Yeah.
And there's just feats that you use a single time, and they're already just as strong as 3 usages of Tiandi's feats.
Mhm.
So they're not really outstanding, so to speak.
Okay. All right.
And that's basically why he's placed at the place he is right now.
So he doesn't have anything outstanding. That's the result of
Exactly.
his
He's good at a
position.
lot of things, but he's not outstanding.
Yeah, he seems to have a theme of being all round, good at everything all round. Nothing's particularly special or very strong.
Correct, yeah.
Next up is Shaolin. He's in 10th, which I'm not personally particularly surprised by. What would he need to be placed higher in the fours tier list? What holds him back?
What holds him back? It's hard to explain. Here once again we have the situation of he's really good at a lot of things, but he's not
Mhm.
really the best at something. So his feats are really good, but they're not comparable to, let's say, Warden feats, because Warden feats are insane, right?
Yeah.
Or Kensei feats, Smoke Bomb. They're just the Shaolin feats are really good, but not comparable to the very best feats in the game. And then here once again, he's a really good team fighter, but he's not one of the best team fighters. He's a really good 1v1er, but he's not one of the best 1v1ers. And he's just a really good character overall and slightly better than Tiandi. He has, though, what he really has is really good rotations because he has a really high sprint speed. So he's definitely what I consider personally a way better PK. He's really comparable to PK before she was reworked.
Yeah. I mean,
But yeah.
I hadn't thought of comparing him to PK, but it's I'm definitely going to try and look at it that way to see what kind of perspective you mean by that. After that, of course, then is the infamous Jiang Jun. I've heard so much about him being a monster in fours. He's the highest placed to the Wu Lin. Is this due to the hero being the best of the four with his moveset in fours modes, or is there another reason?
His moveset isn't bad, but it's not the reason why he's the highest placed. The reason why Jiang Jun is the best out of the 4 Wuling characters is because of his feats, and solely because of his feats. The feats he has are way too strong. So the one feat I want to mention here in particular is his mass heal. I don't know the exact name of it anymore.
Soothing
but
Mist.
Soothing Mist, exactly. It's kind of like Second Wind, but it also heals all allies around you. So it's a way stronger Second Wind, basically. And Second Wind on its own is already way too strong than it already on its own, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and this is an even stronger version of it. So,
It's insane, yeah. I mean, when I see 4 guys in the other team fighting together and fighting a couple of my teammates, and I have Soothing Mist, I mean, I'm like, oh yeah, let's go. And I just run over, fucking pump heal the whole enemy team's around, so everyone's getting full health again, because it scales with enemies around. Bang, the entire team is all full health, and now also has, retained their revenge multipliers, their revenge gain.
Exactly, and the thing is, that feat alone can win you team fights, and that's just so strong.
Yeah.
So his moveset isn't bad, like I said, but the main reason why he's the highest out of all is because of his feats.
I mean, God, I love that feat, guys. Cheers for that set mix. So, guys, after we go through the breach tier list positions, we'll ask set mix about a few more pointers there.
C tier, not viable. 22nd, Aramusha. 21st, Centurion. 20th, Shigoki. 19th, Valkyrie. 18th, Gladiator. 17th, Warlord. 16th, Orochi. 15th, Peacekeeper. 14th, Conqueror. 13th, Nusha. 12th, Shaman. 11th, Tiandi. 10th, Highlander. 9th, Lawbringer. 8th, Warden. 7th, Shaolin. 6th, Jiangjun. 5th, Shinobi. 4th, Berserker. 3rd, Kensei. 2nd, Nobushi. 1st, Raider.
First off is Nusha. She places low again for breach. What would she need to make her more viable in that game mode?
Overall, I think the character itself has to be improved to make her better in breach. She needs better ways to get into her chain. Her traps need to be improved. And that is basically it. If you improve her entire kit, she will be placed higher.
Alright, cool. Alright, so then we have Tiandi, who's slightly higher on breach than in Dominion. Is this because he can get repeated uses of his strong feats?
Yeah, so that's one of the main reasons. Breach is a game mode that lasts way longer, and because of that, he has probably more usage of his feats, because he can use them multiple times, of course. What's also important to notice is that in Breach, ganks don't matter as much as they do in Dominion. They still matter, but not as much, which means characters with lower ganking potential can place higher than in Dominion.
Alright, I mean, that makes perfect sense. That's kind of what I thought, but I wanted to hear from you. And of course, you can explain it a hell of a lot better. Next, we have Shaolin, who's placed better in Breach as well. What's the reasoning behind that?
He was placed higher there as well is because of his sprint speed. It's really important in Breach that you have a character that can rotate really, really fast, because the maps are usually pretty big. And to complete all the objectives, you really need at least one. We suggest to have 2, but you need at least one character that is really fast at rotating. That's why he placed higher in Breach.
Alright, that makes perfect sense. I actually didn't consider that at all. I had no idea why he was higher. And lastly, we have Jiangjun again. Like Tiandi, is he placed higher due to his repeated use of feats? So he, obviously reaps dividends as a result of that for longer. And has his 4th tier area denying Fiery Barrage played an additional part in his placement in Breach?
So yes, here once again, you get multiple usages of your feats because of the length of the game mode. So yes, that is one of the reasons why he was placed higher. What's also important in Breach is the minions in Breach are way stronger. They have more health, they deal more damage. So you need a mid clear that is able to clear the minions quite fast without taking too many hits. And Jiangjun has ways to clear minion waves quite fast without taking too much damage while doing so, which is also another reason why he was placed higher in Breach than in Dominion. His tier 4 didn't really matter that much in his placement, but it's definitely better in Breach than it is in Dominion.
Alright, I mean, I think that about sums up everything I wanted to ask you. So that makes cheers for your time, mate. I appreciate you, Dan. doing that.
Thanks for having me.
And guys, if you want to check out Setmix, I will leave a link in the pinned comment to his Twitch where he's playing some Soul Calibur and competitive For Honor whenever that turns up. Thank you for checking out this video, guys. I would love to hear from you in the comments about how you feel about the competitive viability of the heroes in the respective modes. Due to a lack of support for the competitive scene, the list is malleable and not set in stone. These are best estimations with available play that can be observed and participated in up to the release of this video. I do these kinds of videos in order to add another resource to players to what high level play is actually like, as there is a serious lack of information and gameplay of this on YouTube, with Alernikin, Barak Yeet and Freeze being the only other consistent resources I know of via gameplay, valuable information or guides. With that being said, I will leave a link to those respective channels in the description for you to check out if you'd like to do so. I'll also be leaving a link in the pinned comment to Setmix's Twitch where he streams. He plays Soul Calibur in addition to streaming For Honor if there is a competitive reason to do so. Leave a like and a comment with your thoughts on the video if you want to support the channel's 1v1 versus the YouTube algorithm. And with that, I hope you enjoyed the video and I'll catch you later, guys.
It was the day